Hello, Inbound Flops. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Zach, not Kyler, Zach for short, and today, on this day, we are going to restart my video series on Mortal Kombat 11 called The Ballad of Mortal Kombat 11. Fun fact, the reason that this didn't actually get finished last year is because the editing files for part 2 were completely lost to time. Don't ask me how, I do not know. So I decided, let's try and give this another go now that we have foresight on a couple of different things, added a couple tweets to the mix of evidence, and MK12 is most likely on the horizon, and it's the 30th year of Mortal Kombat's existence, and I also finally qualify for the 17+ rating that these games tend to get, so now I can make this video kind of legally now. So pretty much we are going to redo part 1 of this because I wanted to add a couple things to this script because I noticed the original video was kind of short. So yeah, we're just going to attempt to do this along with a pros and cons of the entire roster. And now it's time for our disclaimer. This is not a video intended to shift your opinion on Mortal Kombat 11. You can hold any views you like on it. This is a presentation of events that have shown Mortal Kombat 11 in a negative light despite its many positives. Don't send hate to anyone mentioned in this video. Everything in this video that has a source linked will be in the description. Now sit back, eat a snack, and enjoy the video. So let's go back to 4 years ago, Jesus Christ. So to explain Mortal Kombat 11 a little bit better, we actually need to go back to EVO 2018, which is when many fans of the series were running into a standstill with Mortal Kombat 10, the previous title in the Mortal Kombat franchise. By the way, if you hear me go between X and 10, it's because the Roman numeral is X, and some people say 10, I say X a lot of the time, but here's your small little disclaimer for that, so that way no one actually gets confused. So EVO had no sign of MK11, and fans speculated as to whether the game would actually ever see the light of day. But never fear, the Game Awards 2018 was the first look into it. However, it was not the reveal anyone expected. It was actually announced as a cover-up as the best racing game. And you know what? For Mortal Kombat and Ed Boon's normal Twitter antics, what more fitting reveal is there, to be honest? So here's this quick tidbit to describe what this part is about. Announced at the Game Awards 2018, this game was released in North America and Europe on April 23, 2019 for Microsoft Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One, with the exception of Europe's Switch version, which was released on May 10, 2019. End quote. So that is the time period we're going to be focusing on, is right up until that release. So after the reveal, everyone went insane because, oh my god, Mortal Kombat is finally returning after 4 years, and we only have to wait 4 months, let's go. According to Game Informer, it's coming April 23rd with a community reveal event coming on January 17th. That's likely when we'll get our first look at how this premise might play out in the game itself. So let's talk about that reveal event for a second. So the first 7 characters were showcased, being Scarlet, Baraka, Scorpion, Raiden, Sub-Zero, Garrus, and Sonya. A lot of fans noticed immediately that the style was changed a bit, so I think this was done for a few reasons. One, having the same style and not the same characters in this game throws a lot of backlash into the mix, and 2, it helps with the core issue that I have with the game that we'll look at in the second part, which is how realistic Mortal Kombat 10 was. GameSpot uploaded all of the first showings of the story, gameplay, etc. on the 17th of January 2019. After the reveal event on the 17th, the Kombat Cast started up for MK11. The Kombat Cast is a NetherRealm Studios run podcast with some of the team there to demonstrate the new features of the game. It's typically held at least once a week, all the way until the run-up of the release day. However, despite the devs running the podcast themselves, there were issues with how the Kombat Cast was handled for several different releases. First of all, there were episodes where multiple characters were revealed. Now that doesn't sound bad upon me just saying that, because wow, we get more characters and we're getting them faster, and we're getting them every week, that's amazing. But Jax, Liu Kang, and Kung Lao were all revealed together and not given a lot of screen time for everyone to get attached to them, despite their large fan bases. This would get even worse when Kotal Khan was done dirty in the character reveals by dying in his own trailer video to Jackie Briggs, who was also revealed. SCREENRANT puts it best, saying, quote, "Unfortunately for Khan though, the trailer doesn't exactly go the way he would probably have liked, showcasing him getting completely demolished by Jackie Briggs, another character fans already knew would be featured in the upcoming game," end quote. This did show Jackie in a great light, but we also had the problem of Kotal Khan, a super strong character in the lore, having his ass beat by Jackie Briggs, who he beat in MKX, but Kotal Khan was beaten down in the story anyway, so I guess it was accurate. Over time, from December to April, the roster was slowly built up to the final 25 who would make the initial cut. that. However, out of the original 25, there were some very notable exceptions to the roster, even though many exempt figures from MKX were back, like Noob Saibot, Jade, and Scarlet. Characters like Ermac, Reptile, and Molina were some exceptions from Mortal Kombat X, along with many other mainstays of the series that hadn't seen the light of day in the last 2 games. Kronika, the big bad for this installment, who we'll talk about eventually, was not a playable character either. The roster also had the return of Frost as a playable character, which wouldn't be a problem. In fact, it's really nice for her, if it weren't for the fact that she was the only unlockable character of the entire roster, being unlocked at Chapter 4 of the story mode. Mortal Kombat in recent years hasn't had a lot of unlockable characters, so as such, this came off as a strange choice. My take is that you should have either had none at all, or a lot of unlockable characters to make people come back to the game constantly, or even just to the story mode. So moving on to March, the DLC got kind of revealed, with Shang Tsung not only being the Crypt Keeper, but the first DLC character to be announced in late March, before the game was even released. Kerry Tagawa was coming back to reprise his role as Shang Tsung from the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, which was a bold and amazing choice. Regardless, his reveal still caused concern that the base game was not going to be as great if DLC was already planned for a game that was still a month out from release. The DLC issues were not over, not even close. We're not talking about that until much later though. Over the release of the combat cast for MK11, the character absences were causing more and more outrage. Melina fans were especially outraged over D'Vorah being in the game and Melina's absence. D'Vorah is disliked by that part of the fanbase due to Melina's death in the last game, along with many taking a disinterest in her due to her overpowered presence in MKX, which Mortal Kombat 10 had one of the weirdest power imbalances I have ever seen in video games. But moving on. Ermac, Reptile, Shang Tsung, Nightwolf, Sindel, Cyrax, Sector, and Tanya, and more were just a few of the characters with notable outcry for the return of the game, and while some of them did get it in later DLC updates, some did not. Cyrax and Sector had the most fan backing behind them because of them being revealed in the story mode of the game. I would like to say that they are not in the game to this day, but they are issues that are going to be in a section later down the line. Many people also wanted Kronika to be playable, which this has also not come. So, let's take a second to look at the copies of the game and their variants that were revealed for purchase. So, there's a standard edition, which is just the $60 base game. The premium edition was also fine until later on when Aftermath caused outrage. However, the collector's edition was heavily scrutinized for only having a scorpion mask that wasn't even wearable and a magnet for $300. That is an Xbox Series S at the time. According to Game Revolution, the package includes a premium edition copy of the game, a scorpion mask bust, the exclusive steel case, a commemorative magnet coin, and a special collector box. By comparison, Tekken 7's collector's edition came with a soundtrack, Day 1 edition, a Kazuya and Heihachi statue, collector's box, and a steelbook. So, before we get into all of the issues that happened on launch day and for the week after, let's go back to the roster on launch. I wanted to go through all 25 of these characters and give my pros and cons briefly. So here are all of them in the order they appear on the select screen. Starting off with Shao Kahn, the pre-order bonus. The pros are that he's a tanky character and he's set up really well in the story. His looks are striking and his helmet also had a lovely upgrade. The cons are that his armor makes zero sense for his design when this motherfucker almost died in MK9 via chest explosion. Why the actual hell would he leave it exposed other than to make me like him? He also had issues early on with online pre-orders and getting the code for him to put into the game. I literally had 2 days of issues with this and I had this game at 14. So second, we had Frost. She is an amazing offensive character, and she desperately needed to return for her upgrade, especially after whatever her MKX design was. She also felt like such a breath of fresh air, and she has a lovely concept that was pulled from the Cyber Lin Kuei. So the cons for her, though, are that some of her skin choices were just hilarious, and she was also the only unlockable character, which I touched on a little bit earlier. So moving on to the regular roster that you don't have to pay for or go into story mode for, let's go with Johnny Cage. So they made him a lot more likable, which is amazing. Johnny Cage has historically been a douchebag. His fatalities are golden, and his fatherly role is finally making more sense as he learns to be a little bit more humble. His cons, though, are that his story role, while improved, is still lackluster to some degree. They also needed to age him more a bit than they have, more like his MKX design. On to Sonya. She had a better design that immediately reads as a weathered soldier who still has what it takes to get the job done, and she had a full circle story moment to pass her legacy on to Cassie, which is something that I think after the 11th installment of the series was very justified. However, there is a massive glaring issue with Sonya, and it's her voice acting. Look, I love Ronda Rousey as a fighter, however, she is not a good voice actor, and that's just, her lines are objectively bad and do make me cringe every time I face a Sonya in MK Online. On to Cassie Cage. So she seemed a lot more developed than in MKX, which was much needed because she felt extremely juvenile for the power she held. Her presence in the story also feels less draining and a lot better handled. She is also definitely one of the most enjoyable characters to play. Her only con really is that her design was very drastically changed, which led to mixed responses from it. So Jax, his glow up is remarkable. I honestly really like his glow up of all of the Special Forces characters the most, and he has some really nice moves and X-rays. Seriously, his X-rays are some of the best in the game. However, he has an unnecessarily complicated moveset, and his combat cast showcase was very overcrowded, having 3 characters in it. Now on to everybody's flaming hot boy, Scorpion. Holy fuck, they made him the best he has ever been. His effects and fatalities are absolutely glistening, and when he spears somebody's mount, my jaw too immediately hits the floor. However, I will say, some of his skins are very interesting to look at sometimes, and his story mode look is not the greatest. I really wish they did what they did in MK9, where they made him a little more human, but kept his very wrathy form. Now on to Noob Saibot. Jesus fuck, his design is incredible for literally just being all black. There's so much texture in there, and it's amazing to see. His weaponry glow up is very beautiful, and we love to see it. I will say though, there is always a consistent issue with Noob Saibot having a terrible moveset design that encourages the spamming of his teleport slam, which every single person who has ever played MK Online finds this annoying, no matter how iconic it is. So next is Baraka. His return was jaw-dropping. Like, it was so fun to watch, and his fatalities are definitely some of the best in the game. Like, Baraka biting brains is just so oddly bizarre and entertaining, and I just want to keep playing him for it. However, his con is that his skins are way too revealing compared to his past ones, and are very obvious fan service, which, to say that revealing costumes are a problem in MK11 is a massive understatement. Now on to Raiden. So his tonal shift in design was really nice, and his voice absolutely never disappoints. However, I do think, and call me controversial yet brave, he is overstaying his welcome in this timeline, and his story is making him less and less likable ever since MK9. If Raiden is near the equivalent of an elder god in power, why is he one of the weakest characters in the story? It's getting so annoying to watch. So next we have Jackie Briggs. So her design change is so good. Oh my god, it's amazing. And she has some of the best skins in the game. Her cons, though, are that her default is worse than her skins in many cases. This is something that a lot of large roster universes tend to have happen. Think Pokemon Unite, Tekken, League of Legends, Mortal Kombat, etc. Many skins sometimes can overshadow that, which is good because it's an incentive, so that way people will keep playing and grinding for those skins. However, when the default is so much worse than that, it leaves a sour taste in the mouth of your players. The other con I have for her is that her presence from MKX did feel a bit lost. Jackie seemed more like the level-headed character of the squad trio of MKX, and I feel like that presence is mostly gone. So MK12, could we just get the original tomfoolery of the OG Special Forces 4 and just have them do a bunch of shenanigans again but make Kung Jin likable? Thank you. On to Sub-Zero. So he does have a great moveset that doesn't overlap with Frost, which is a pitfall that sometimes I feel like he can fall into. However, his head design and mask do look very awkward to me. I don't know what it is, but it feels like there's too many jagged edges for that headpiece. And also, I feel like Sub-Zero is fading into the background as time goes on. Like, MK9, they were trying to make his brother storyline work out, and it kind of did, but then definitely didn't in MKX, so they tried making him this, like, mentor figure to the Special Forces crew, and then in MK11, I literally forgot what his storyline was because it is that forgettable. And I feel like they seriously need to do an overhaul on his story so they could figure their shit out to not make a mainstay turn bland. So next is Kano, and Kano is a general asshole, and it's awesome. Him being rogue makes so much sense, and it makes for some amazing stories, like MKX, the Sonya versus Kano shit. Beautiful. Loved it. And also the comments from past Kano to current Kano and just complimenting each other is some of the greatest story writing I think Mortal Kombat has ever done. It's amazing and funny, and I love it. However, I think he needs to be more powerful in the story, because I feel like Kano is a loose cannon that can be set off at any time, and the Mortal Kombat movie actually does that really well. However, I think this game holds back on that, and his base design should be a little more muscular and maybe a little more clothed. I feel like Kano's not that much of a loose cannon to forget his jacket at home. Like, literally, if we got the design from the Mortal Kombat movie in this game, I would have given him a complete 10 out of 10. So then Kabal. Kabal has the Glow Up of the Year award over here. Like, Jesus fuck, this is how you do it. Kabal looks completely different, and it feels like he's had some sort of evolution since the events of MK9, which is amazing. He really does feel divided from that police officer that got burned by a Shao Kahn character, and it's so cool to see. However, I will say, I'm iffy on his hair change, and maybe keeping those OG pigtails and changing them up a bit would have been better than axing it entirely, although I do think his new hairstyle is pretty good. On to Liu Kang. Liu Kang has so many different opinions on him, depending on who you ask, and for me, I have a very mixed opinion on him, especially after Aftermath, but the pros on launch were that he does have really beautiful effects in his moves, and his moves are just stupid fun. Like, I can get a 17-hit combo by literally just kicking people in the neck, and it's great. However, the big con I have for Liu Kang is that he is doing way too much in the story all at once. He literally went from being in the Netherrealm with Kitana, to being normal again, to venturing along the way with Kung Lao, and then turns into this Giga Chad, He-Man, Goku level character, and then accidentally makes Raiden completely fucking useless in the timeline. So basically, his pacing feels insanely rushed, and they probably should have spread this out a lot better. Now Kitana. Oh my god, this is how you write female leads. Thank you, NRS, for killing with Kitana. Kitana Khan was an amazing arc, and I think her newer design, especially with those twin buns, oh my god, it's so good. The cons that I have for her, though, are that her Revenant form as her default is slightly questionable because of the fact that she is in her regular humanoid form for so much, which this is definitely a problem for another character who we're going to get to. And her fatalities are on the boring side, to be honest. I really wish they went off with them a little more. Now Kung Lao. Kung Lao had a massive moveset improvement over Mortal Kombat X, and that is something that I am so happy for. He was literally one of the most annoying characters in that game, and now he feels balanced and fun, but still beatable. And the cons is that he is playing the role Liu Kang did to Raiden in MK9, and it's so annoying. Like, please just use him properly. They build up his ancestor as being such a crazy, amazing character, and I feel like this Kung Lao hasn't had that treatment since MK9, and I think they need to bring it back. On to Jade. Jade might be the perfect character in this roster, and let me tell you why. She is able to be defensive, she's able to counter certain moves, she's able to be a prominent fighter, she has quick time events, she has longer drawn out moves like that of Shao Kahn, she has amazing combos, and she feels like a character that you have to keep your eyes on at all times, including for the people playing her. My only con for her is that her Revenant form in her default is a lot more questionable than Kitana's, since I'm pretty sure she's only in her Revenant form for such a short amount of time that I literally forgot where it is in the timeline. Also, I have to say, her change in her character design from MK9 to MK11, well done, good job, NRS. Now Scarlet. I love her new design direction so much, and her moves are really fun to watch. Like, the blood element of all of her moves just makes them both hilarious and terrifying. However, the cons I have for her are that some of her effects are a little questionable, but that's mostly because of the unsettling nature of the blood, but it is excusable to a certain degree. And also, I feel like Scarlet is not very important in the story mode, and when you can't incorporate your characters fully in the story mode, I feel like you would definitely question why they're there at launch. Which is also very, very true for another character we're going to talk about. So next is Aaron Black. Aaron Black had a much better vision for his moveset. I love his rifle functionality and the bullets. That is really cool character design and moveset work. And also, he is one of the coolest fatal blows in the game where he shoots the coins from the back of his head. Well done. My con is that why in every game that Aaron Black has been in do they keep giving the most badass character in this game 5 minutes of screen time? Like, please use him better. He is such a great aspect, especially since he's apparently killed a bunch of characters from the 3D era. So next is Devora. My pros for Devora is that she is a much better balanced character than she was previously in MKX, and also her bug transformation is cool as hell, 10 out of 10, and the chitin get a little bit more development through the maps. So my cons are that they actually nerfed her so much in the story that she feels like a non-factor to a certain extent, and also, there was a really weird image for her reveal compared to her final release. I don't know what was going on there, but they looked like they completely overhauled her, which was just a bit odd. So next is Kotal Khan. His different designs are really fun, and I think they're all done pretty well to a certain degree, except for some of the skins. And also, the cougar thing's fucking awesome. Keep that for every installment. My cons are that his reveal trailer, as we mentioned, was not ideal whatsoever. And also, why did they weaken him so much in this story? He beats Takeda's ass, beats Jackie's ass, beats Cassie's ass, and Kung Jin's ass in MKX, back to back to back to back, ties all of them up, and yet he literally can't fight Shao Kahn for more than 2 minutes. So now we're on to Garrus. Garrus is going to start off all of the new characters. So he's a fun character to play as and against, which is a really unique characteristic, and he has this like otherworldly design, and I love to see it. However, I do think he does need a lot more individuality from Chronica, which I think just one more game could give him that. So hopefully Garrus MK12. Alright, so now on to Collector. So his crypt appearance is really cool, and it's nice to be able to buy some new and cool items from your collectibles. And he is like a different form of Shokan that we haven't seen yet, and I really like his design. However, I am not sure how necessary of a character he was when you could have brought back other Shokans like Kentaro Shiva or Goro, or even made a new one. I think Collector was more so just rendered for like a couple small moments in the story mode and to exist in the crypt. So now we get to our last character, Cetrion. Jesus, her new design is so cool. Her skins are absolutely amazing. She feels like this otherworldly presence that I feel like Raiden has sort of lost over the years. However, if Cetrion is this big bad, they don't build her up enough in the story when they really should be. I feel like we could see Cetrion become like this huge prominent figure in MK12, so introducing her now with such a low ball is really annoying for how cool of a character she is. So if I had to pick a top 5 and a bottom 5, in no particular order, the top 5 would be Shao Kahn, Jade, Katana, Cassie Cage, and Cabal. And the bottom 5 for sure would be Noob, Kotal Khan, Garrus, Collector, and Raiden. My reasonings for all of them is that Noob is just annoying, Kotal Khan was done ridiculously dirty, Garrus is just not enough of an individual yet, and Collector feels very unnecessary, and Raiden is getting extremely annoying and on my last nerve. So as you can see, the launch roster is not the greatest it could be with all of the issues across the board, on top of all the pre-launch issues with the franchise that we've discussed. This group of shenanigans was able to cause a perfect storm for the game. April 23rd was drawing closer and closer, and the fans were becoming more restless, hoping for the best. This game was about to be massacred by the online gaming world, but NetherRealm could have anticipated both good and bad reviews depending on the person. However, I don't think NetherRealm was ready for the investigation done on them that would harm their game for years. But that is going to be saved for part 2. In part 2, we're going to be talking about the NetherRealm investigation that happened just after launch and all of the shenanigans that happened within the first week of launch and the start of the DLC. So hopefully you guys will tune into that. Comment below all of your opinions and your thoughts on all of this evidence. All of my sources are going to be in the description for this video, anything I quoted or used. And yeah, I'm excited to see you for part 2 of the Ballad of Mortal Kombat 11. Bye, sis!